Production. Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. As we are getting started, just to introduce myself, my name is Emil Oriola. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I work in the Office of Interfaith Dialogue and Engagement here at the University of Pittsburgh. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to this Hesselbein Global Academy virtual summit session entitled Renew and Recharge, Avoid Mission-Driven Burnout. Please note, as you can hear, the session is being recorded. To give you some background, mission-driven burnout occurs when a leader's admirable personal commitment to make a difference leads to working too much. Chronic stress, overwhelm, exasperation, and intense frustration with the inadequate resources to match the individual's vision. With increasing demands, pandemic pressures, remote working, family challenges, and childcare needs, leaders need to be aware of the pitfalls that can lead to burnout for themselves and their team. This workshop will explore practical tools and actions you can take to prevent burnout and increase engagement and energy. As you have already heard from her, our presenter for this session is Jessica G. Hartung. Jessica G. Hartung is a pioneer in the conscious business movement, founded integrated work in 1998, is the author of The Conscious Professional, Transform Your Life at Work, and is a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. She is dedicated to putting the world's best professional tools in the hands of leaders striving to create positive impact. Working exclusively with mission-driven leaders, Jessica is known for her straightforward and compelling style that inspires individuals and teams to develop the skills necessary to meet and exceed their goals. In 2020, she became a certified instructor of meditation and mindfulness. She has published numerous articles on management and leadership topics for purpose-driven professionals in publications such as Conscious Company Magazine and Leader to Leader Journal. She volunteers locally in the Boulder, Colorado community to strengthen business and nonprofit leadership. Jessica holds a master's degree in management from Regis University in Colorado and completed her bachelor's degree in sociology at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Jessica is a past mentor and presenter for the Hesselbein Global Academy. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us this morning, and let us go ahead and get started. Jessica, it's all yours.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, and welcome all. So this topic of mission-driven burnout has come to me through many years of working with executives. And as you heard the description there, I'm sure none of you have been frustrated by a lack of resources or not being able to accomplish all that you want, right? You've never had that experience, I'm sure. No, I'm teasing because those who desire to see change in the world, those who are interested in creating a better future, naturally have this frustration because we want to see something good happen. And so the idea is that we renew and recharge ourselves in order to avoid burning out. And this is about preserving your ability to serve. So you can understand why I have such a connection to Frances and her work. Certainly part of my orientation as a leader has been to live is to serve, and to serve is to live. They go together. And I would also like to share with you another wisdom sharer in the world, Brené Brown. Those of you who know her work on vulnerability are probably also aware of how this dual side, the hustle, right? The hustle of getting things done and the grace of getting things done. These are two different sides and they work together. Do we never need to hustle? I don't know. I'm not really willing to say that. I sometimes need to hustle, right? There's things that need to get done. But at the same time, grace will take you places that hustling can't. And as we start this morning, I invite you to tune into your memory banks So some people find it's helpful to even close their eyes as they imagine. I mean, literally inside of our brains or our awareness or our psychosocial, spiritual being that we are, we have so much information in there, right? So at this moment, I'm asking you to go back into those data banks and tune into a memory when you felt grace, however you define it, or something close to it. Consider, what was it like? Let's breathe in together. That moment of grace, as we all remember, filling the air in our lungs, a slow, long exhale. And remember the grace that we have received. And because we are leaders in service, we beam that back out, feeling the grace expand and spread. Beautiful. I feel the appreciation beaming out from you and to you. One more breath, and then we'll come back together. Just make it beautiful, slow, just the way you like it. And we can return to the group with our eyes open. Thank you so much for that mini meditative moment. Beautiful. Now, not only had we just done something really important for this session, but we've also done something for you. Do you feel maybe a little bit calmer after that? Just maybe a little bit more relaxed? How long do you think that was? I mean, it was less than 2 minutes, right? So really short, really effective application of your own ability to renew. And in this way, we're renewing ourselves with something that is so universal and timeless. It's the connection to our sense of grace, whatever that means. So really appreciate that. If you would, right now, take a moment and in the chat, just type a word or two. How did this make you feel? What did you notice? Just something to share with the group so that we can be in this experience together. So go ahead and just type in the chat. What did you notice from that? Is there anything that you would share? Word, phrase? Eased. Beautiful. Weightless. Yes. Connected and tuned in. Oh, just what I had hoped for. Keep them coming, and I will keep going in our presentation. But in addition to all these good feels, so we generated in just a couple of moments of the thoughts, we generated good feelings, and we practiced the conscious breathing, which is one of the keys we're going to learn about today. It's one of the things that we can go through our lives doing unconsciously, right? Fortunately, our systems are automatic enough that if we're not paying attention, we still breathe. Like our body decides it's going to still do it. But there's also an opportunity to be conscious in our breathing. And there are times when that is really relevant to your success and your effectiveness as a mission-driven leader in the world. So I want you to see that always on board, always with you is your breath. You never have to go searching. Where is it? Where is it? No, it's right here. It's right with you always. And it's a tool for your renewal of yourself and sort of bringing out your best self, because sometimes, lots of things hijack our emotions and our intellect and our ego and other parts of us. And the breath does create the calm, refreshed, connected, tuned in, peaceful sense that you all shared. The other thing is when you went into your memory banks, there's a way in which I like to view this as time travel. We're traveling back in time in our minds. Generally, I find that people are better at traveling back in time in their minds than they are traveling forward in time in their minds. And this concept of being able to be in this present moment, but travel in time, forward and back, it enlarges our playing field, right? Because now we can see ourselves in context, where we've been, where we are, where we're headed. We can see the situations that we're in, the people that we're in context, because we have that time traveling ability. And when we can travel into the future imaginarily, we also can have greater influence on that. So it's another tool that I really like, is that not only can we slow down our breathing, create those feelings and emotions, we can actually extend our thinking in time, which, if you are into strategic planning, you would know is one of the key things that helps people develop strategic thinking. So as you had heard, I am Jessica Hartung, and an author and a strategic advisor. I've been the CEO for 20 some years of Integrated Work, a company I founded because I believed that we should be able to find ways to bring more of who we are to what we do. The integration of work and life is what I was striving for. And it was a grand experiment. I started in 1998 by myself and, the second bedroom of the house, and just sort of tried to become a consultant and coach by getting educated and practicing and learning from great people. And as it turned out, it's an incredible journey to build a business that then I was able to transfer to another female entrepreneur who is also a conscious leader, and now she's bringing it into new places. So I'm very grateful for that. And, it certainly was a journey that produced a lot of stories, and those stories, many of them are in the Conscious Professional. And one of them, there was one missing chapter. And you know what the missing chapter was on? Was preventing burnout. So I wrote the chapter, I've written articles on this. I thought it would be in the book. It wasn't in the book. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for sharing it. And this statement over here, stamina is needed for the long game of change. We can't make as big of a difference for as long if we're running on empty, right? If we've got nothing left to give. So the refueling and recharging is about our contribution. It's about preparing ourselves for more contribution. So I got really into this, preserve your ability to serve and preventing burnout. It was the first article I wrote. I wanted to publish. So I published in Conscious Company magazine. I was very nervous. But when it came out, this article on burnout, it really, I got a lot of great feedback. It helped me solidify my thinking to organize it and write it. And it became a touchstone for the continued writing that I've done. And also in Leader to Leader Journal. But recognizing the signs of burnout. So conscious professionals can be especially prone to burnout. We'll talk a little bit more about that. What I mean by conscious is those who are, just like in our breathing, automatic breathing, we're not conscious. Deliberate breathing, actually choosing to breathe a certain way, that's conscious. So working and leading deliberately is what conscious leadership is all about. So the thing is, though, that most people don't recognize burnout. So that's why I want to focus on, how do you recognize the signs? And then what can you do to prevent it? So here is one of the early warning signs I want to just put in your consciousness, because I guarantee you that there's communication in your world. We all have communication of a wide range of types, personally, professionally, sometimes intermixed between the two. And under intense pressure, which if this year has been nothing else for us, it has been intense. I assume wherever you are, you have experienced a lot of intensity too. And I appreciate that this has been a really tough year for people. So under intense pressure, your communication style may change, right? So here's the thing that we're doing to get communication to others, to help them help us, or to work together on a situation. And that very communication, the way in which we're speaking, changes when we're under pressure and, not really relaxed. And the kinds of ways it may change is that you may experience forgetfulness. Did I tell that person that or not? right? You may experience forgetfulness, like, I can't remember what he told me. Was I supposed to turn right or left? Oh my gosh, I don't know. You may find yourself being unclear. So what that means is people come back to you and say, I'm not sure what you wanted me to do. I'm trying to help you, but what are you saying? So you can get feedback from your environment that might tell you you're being unclear, you're being forgetful, or defensiveness. Hey, how about if you turn left? What do you mean? Why do I turn left? I don't want to turn left. I was just going to turn right. What are you telling me? So that defensiveness, when people are challenging you and you, instead of being able to take it in, are like, no, no, no. The other thing is that I have talked to a lot of folks who are saying they're having trouble concentrating right now. So you may also be experiencing this. I think there are a lot of reasons for it, but these are all early warning signs. And the thing is that as these are coming up, unfortunately, when we're burning out, we're not aware of these changes. So it's happening, but it's like we can't see it. The people around you can often see it, even if you can't. But the big point here is that most people have a hard time acknowledging when they're beginning to burn out. And that's why it keeps going. If we acknowledge, sure, we all get stressed, we all have issues, and then we start on that early phase, it doesn't go quite so far. So I was trolling on wherever it was, LinkedIn or Facebook somewhere, and I saw this. So I'll give you a moment to read it. Yeah. So you get the picture. We're not always aware. This is on fire. I'm sorry, I'm on fire, but no worries if we can't deal with that, I do think that mission-driven leaders are especially prone to burnout because they're highly motivated. They want to get things done. They're very committed, passionate, and it puts them more at risk because they care so much. Now, this book was an interesting read, just recently came out, Joan Borisenko, and she is, quite an expert in all kinds of wellness. And this has got a lot about her own story. But there was a quote here I wanted to share with you from a hospice worker. She actually was connecting with this woman on Facebook, and I'd like you to read this part. How many of you have tried to power through? How many of you are powering through right now? Yeah. So it's really normal, natural that we feel like we don't have a chance to stop and put ourselves first. So if you're in that camp, the good news is you're with a lot of other stellar people. And by valuing our own leadership, truly, that's what this is about, valuing our own leadership. It means investing in taking the time for ourselves, whatever that is. And sometimes, if you are approaching burnout, it's probably some self-care. Now, before we talk about the strategies, this is an important piece, and I would like to consider doing a quick breakout room with you. It's very easy for me to set us up into breakout rooms. You do not have to be on video, but I would really appreciate if you could speak on audio. So we'll do that in a moment. Get yourself prepared. But what I really would like to talk to you about is the cost of burnout, because the cost of burnout is something that we can talk about collectively, and that's what I'll share with you is one half of all nonprofit staff identify themselves as either burnt out or burning out. And it relates to their workloads, the pressure, the deadlines, the overwhelm. But I also think it relates to the passion and the caring and the desire to see change. It's when we are not seeing results that we start to feel burning out. When we're seeing results, it's usually quite energizing and it makes us feel like we want to continue. So I know that, it's a really big challenge, and close to 50% of business people say they're often or always exhausted due to work. So the mission-driven professional in me says this is not the way humans were designed. We can do better. So my question to you is, these are collective societal impacts, but what about for you? What is actually at stake with you? If you burn out, what happens? If you don't burn out, what happens? What's riding on this for you? And I'd really like you to consider that. I had a session where I did this exercise in person and paired up the groups, and I just asked them to share with each other, what's at stake for you? So person A asked the other one, what's at stake for you about burning out? And they answer, and thank you. What's at stake for you about burning out? And as they talked about this, one fellow said, what's at stake for me is my marriage. If I can't find a way to work and be home and come home to my family, I don't think she's going to stay. And I said, well, that's a really important motivator, isn't it? Maybe yours will not be quite so dramatic, but I'd like for you to take a moment at this moment and say, what is at stake for you, for your cause, for the things you care about? What is at stake? I'm going to bring us into breakout rooms. You'll be 2 or 3 people in a room. And if you could just ask, what's at stake for you? Listen, say thank you, and then respond to their asking of the question. We're literally going to take 1.5 minutes each person, 3-minute breakout room. Can you do it? You think you could do it? All right. Ready, set, go. The cost. Oh, thank you. The cost of burnout can be very high. And it's not just an individual cost, and it's not just an organizational cost. It's also a cost to our mission and the things that we care about, the things that we're working on. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through the anatomy of burning out. What is it like? What do we see when people burn out? So I've read a lot of books on this, and there are many people who have many phases, and there are 7, and there are 12, and there are 5, and there are 15, depends on who you read and what they're talking about and what dimensions of this, the psychological, the physical, etc. So I tried to boil this down and distill it down into something that was easily to grip for those of us who are not planning to become experts in the science of burnout. There's a lot of material out there if you are, but for those of us who are just learning about this because we're really working on a different cause, let me share with you these 4 phases. In the first phase, everything becomes a top priority. You're overextended, overdoing it, and starting to feel a little trapped. Now, in this first phase, there was something that happened prior to phase 1, right? So I might have felt a need to prove myself. I might have felt like I was it was an important situation. There's a reason why I got myself into it, right? And so one of the things that's really important is not only seeing these symptoms, but also knowing how is it that we got here. So if everything is a top priority for you, you can see, how did I get there? Why is everything a top priority? Why am I pushing so hard? So it's important to take that time to reflect a little bit. But my guess is that when I talk through these phases and you go back and you say, all right, where am I at? And what do I want to do about it? Just prior to this phase is the part where there's leverage for you. So phase 1, everything's a priority. You're overextended, overdoing it, and you're starting to feel trapped. Phase 2, there's a decrease in your energy. You're starting to feel fatigue and there's this kind of a shame and a doubt, like, I thought I could do all this. What's wrong with me that I can't do it all? And it makes people feel like they can't talk about it and they can't renegotiate. And so there becomes kind of a turning in. And as they're turning in, they're walling off their emotions from other people. They don't want to show how they're feeling. And so they just kind of are going through the motions and pretending it's okay. I'm just going through the motions. I'm going to plaster that smile on, and I'm just going to keep pretending. And what's happening on the inside is these folks are feeling very critical of themselves and others and detached. This is an example of that withdrawal that is the opposite of employee engagement, right? So the opposite of engagement, you're moving further away, you're taking yourself out of the picture because it's painful. The other thing, this last 2 words, others notice, This is a very big deal. You probably in phase 3 have people say, I've been looking at you and I'm a little worried. You don't look like yourself. And if you have people in your life who are saying that to you, this doesn't seem quite like you. What's going on? Notice your response. If you are defensive and deflecting and like, what are you talking about? Not happening here. No. That's also a sign of burnout. That's actually a sign that something is going on. So your denial itself is an early warning sign. And so where does it go from there? If someone continues to say, oh, no, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm just, having a tough day. And they keep going. What happens is that it feels more de-energizing and the joy sort of dissipates. And then the hope and the sense of empowerment go too. So it starts to be that people just begin thinking about, how do I get out of here? And pretty soon they're looking at Hawaiian vacations online and trying to find whatever other, like that solitaire game is so compelling right now. And all the other things that are escape start to become priority. So I think that as we talk about these phases of burnout, people can see themselves in different places at different times. And it's probably true that we've all been through at least one cycle during finals somewhere, right? So it's not that you are going one way and you burn out and then it's over. It's probably more cyclical, like I get to the end of the semester and I'm good. I have a chance to renew. And then pretty soon everything's a top priority and I start to feel really tired and I'm just going through the motions and then I'm just totally spent. And then I renew, right? So it's a cycle that you can go through, and that's cyclical burnout. Chronic burnout is where we've gone down this cycle so many times and now again. And here we are in phase 4, and we're having a really hard time getting out. And so that's where we need to do some really deliberate renewal. If there are questions about this, feel free to put in the chat. But the first thing I'd like to do is another thought experiment. This is a very confrontive one, and it's a good way of telling where you're at in the burnout cycle. What would happen if you were only able to work half your current hours for the next month? Just contemplate that. Your time just got cut in half. You're only able to work half the hours. The other half, you're going to need to rest. You're going to need to renew. You're going to need to do other things not working, not accomplishing. Many people find this to be kind of painful. I would recommend doing it, and I would recommend adjusting a little bit based on it because, I'm someone who has gone through chronic fatigue and had 2 children and lots of other things that do completely disable you for a time, or at least half of your time is completely unavailable for working. And still, we can accomplish. It requires us to reorganize and reprioritize. It's one of the first way of dealing with this phase 1, everything's a top priority. Nope. Only 50% of my time is available. So everything cannot be a top priority. It's a way of addressing that. So you can play around with that a little bit. Now, what renews you? This is a very interesting question, and everybody can have their own self-care menu of things that renew you, but you'll notice these are some universals. Everybody has their own unique ones, right? And it's really a good idea to get in touch with that and notice what's great for you. For me, putting on music changes my whole work experience, right? I'm dancing, it works for me. Getting out in nature, meditating, learning and growing, though, is, and I'm so glad you're here, because that is one of the things that really renews people. How do you know if it renews you? It renews you because you feel better afterwards. So not necessarily during. How many of you have meditated and you're like, oh my gosh, will this ever end? Right? Like not every moment in meditation is wonderful, but it's how you feel after that is a good sign of whether or not this renews you, right? So even during your workout, let's say you're intensely working out, you're building those muscles, you're sweating, it's hard. But afterwards, you feel renewed because you've had the workout that you need. So think about it like that. The activity itself may be pleasant, it may not be, but how do you feel afterwards? That's what you want to check out. And particularly, I'm going to mention this area of learning and growing. It's clearly a bias I have, but I'm not the only one in this room who would have that bias, because 87% of millennials say that development is one of the most important things on their job. And most organizations do not provide customized professional development, meaningful professional development to their employees. So it becomes something that we do for ourselves that renews us. And this cycle of awareness, willingness, skill, it is a development cycle that we're going through all the time. We become aware of, hey, I'm using and ah as I'm speaking all the time. Willingness is, do I care? So what? Oh, I want to be a professional speaker who doesn't use and ah. And that's creating enough motivation. It's important to my mission. I'm putting it in an area of priority. I'm not going to change everything that I'm aware of because it's not worth it, not important to me. It would be exhausting. But if there's a few things that I'm really aware of that I'm willing to change, that's when I start to build the skill. I practice. And that cycle of awareness, willingness, skill, we're going through that all the time. And you're in charge of that. No, your employer doesn't even need to know. But developing skills as you're working is a strategic response to a challenge. And it results in what I call the third paycheck. The first paycheck is financial. You may or may not get that if you're volunteering. The second paycheck is emotional. The good feelings, the reward, emotional reward. Hey, I did that. Look at what we accomplished. I feel so good when I do that. That's the paycheck, second paycheck. What's the third paycheck? Your skills. They stay with you forever. Right? So even if you're volunteering and you're not getting a first paycheck, but it's a really rewarding experience, and you're building skills to take with you into your next and next and next adventures, you're still receiving a paycheck. It's just we need to expand our concept of what that is. And for many people, the learning and development that they do for themselves is the most renewing thing. So I just really want you to know that that comes from reflection. It comes from paying attention to identifying something specific and then practicing it, actually putting it into action and experimenting it and trying some new things. So here are some other ways to renew that I thought I would just go through. The breathing we've done already, right? You can bake that right into your day. I mean, literally. It belongs in your workday. Streamlining is setting resource appropriate intentions. And this is, I would love to send you all a copy of the article. I will forward it. I'm sure we have each other's emails, but I'll send you that copy of that article I wrote in Conscious Company magazine. But one of the key things was that you have to scope. You know, the main problem for burnout, the main reason why people burn out is they're trying to do more than they have the resources available to do, personally and professionally. So are you trying to do more than you have resources available to do? If so, make an adjustment right there before you are in that path of feeling trapped. So it doesn't mean we can do everything, but it does mean we can do some things. And it requires decision-making discernment as to knowing which are we going to invest in, and particularly including yourself in that. So stoking your natural energy is adding a daily dose of something that renews you, you know, and it's like my husband is renewed by the ocean. When we go on vacation and he's near the ocean, it's like it fuels him. It gives him something. I don't feel that way about the ocean, but the mountains, that does it for me. So, you know, people are different as to what stokes their natural energy. So start by observing yourself. Where do you feel energized? Is it talking about a particular concept or learning about something or working out or riding your bike or whatever it is? You just notice it and give yourself some more of that. It's probably my biggest tip. If I had to say one tip, I literally was giving a lecture at a conference. A guy came up to me and said, "Hey, I don't have time to come to your talk about burnout, but I really, like I'm worried about it. And what's one thing that I could do? Like I can't come to your talk, but could you tell me?" Which, of course made me laugh. But this is the tip: is notice what gives you energy and do more of it, because it'll go well with anything else you choose to do. The last two, appreciate what's working. Always a good move, right? For yourself and as a leader for others. Notice what's working. I'm teaching my son to drive, and I'm spending all my time saying, "Great turn. That was really nice the way it came off the accelerator." Yes. So I'm noticing what's working. And then when I have to mention something like don't hit that car or turn to the left, he's less likely to be reactive to that, because I've already been noticing what's working and we're already building on that. And then finally, imagining life on the other side. This is the power tool that comes if you're extra crispy, right? If you're just starting to burn out, these things we've talked about so far are pretty good. If you're getting near that extra crispy kind of stage 4, phase 4 of burnout, this is the tool. And that the person in this phase 4, really at the end of burning out, feels like it's hopeless and it will never end. And that's why this is so important, because when you can help yourself or someone else in that situation imagine life on the other side, it starts to become real, starts to become a thought experiment, and it gives people hope to continue on. So I really appreciate, we've done a little bit of breathing. I'm just going to keep going because I know we have a short time, but I really want you, even just as you're sitting here, to notice full slow inhale and a full slow exhale. It's just a moment, but you can turn that moment into something that renews you, even when you're in a meeting and even when people are irritating you. So a couple other quick things is, and I have to make sure we're on time here. Can you give me a time check, my host? Yes. So celebrating triumphs is something that I had to really learn. I used to sing it to myself. I mean, I'm being really honest with you because I care about you all. And I know that, you are folks who are going through the same kinds of challenges I did in building my business. There's so much that I haven't accomplished, so many things I want to do. It feels like whatever I do is too small to celebrate, because it's not enough. It doesn't match my aspirations. And that was my attitude for some time. And I changed that attitude. I decided that actually what's really important is that we celebrate the small triumphs, because those triumphs make a big difference. And we can do it in all kinds of ways. So do something nice for yourself. Excellent, nicely done. Even just these little things can really help. And finally, I have to, of course, lead us with our quote from Frances. This is one of my favorites for her, is leadership is much less about what you do and much more about who you are. And when you are burning out, you are not the set of, you are not yourself. Being of service brings out our best. And when your leadership flows from your inner character and integrity, then you can ask people to join you in their mission and help you so that you don't have a chance to burn out, right? So again, my name is, my service is to make sure that folks are more fulfilled at work. And oddly, preventing burnout actually causes greater fulfillment. So thank you so much for letting me share with you today. I am very available and interested in talking with people if you want to email me at any point. And of course, the Conscious Professional is a great resource. But truly, I make time for Hasselbein Student Leadership Summit attendees. It's my favorite group. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's give a round of applause to Jessica. Put some emojis out there in the chat. Let's give a her a wonderful round of applause. Thank you, Jessica, for your presentation this morning. Thank you as well to all of our participants who have joined us. At this moment, at the conclusion of the summit, I want to emphasize that you will receive an email with a link to a survey. We ask that you please complete that survey at your earliest convenience and share some feedback about your learning experience today. And at this time, we know you have another session to go to, so you can make your transition to that next session via the Zoom link that was sent to you, which is located in the Summit program. So once again, thank you all for attending. Thank you, Jessica, for leading this session, and we hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to